Hi, today is a quick video about how to make practicing your scales a little bit less boring by adding a couple of chromatic notes in between. Stay tuned. The whole exercise is going to be focused around the G major scale in third position with middle finger. So it's third and fifth fret on sixth string, second, third and fifth on A string, second, fourth and fifth on D string. So it's just one octave. And now the problem that we might have is that it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 notes, and we'd like to have a nice way of playing repeated pattern around these notes, but without interrupting the flow, without breaking the phrase. So what we would usually have is which is okay, but possibly a little bit less fun than it could be, and it doesn't really bring that much of fun musically. So there is one more way. We can just add one note at the tail of the scale, which is A, ninth step, on the second fret of third string. Well, that's one way of doing that, but what I'd like to show is something that would prime your ear onto a little bit more complex territory, which is basically playing notes that are enclosed in between these scale notes. And on every string we have a set of notes, 2, 3 and 3, and also in every setting and every shape we have a little break. So on E string there's a 1 fret break, on A string there's also 1 fret break, and on D string there's a 1 fret break, and it's just one note on every string. So it seems like we could use these breaks to add the missing note to get our phrasing, to get our repeated pattern more fluent. So let's start by something like that. I'll add a chromatic note in my first series, so it's going to be third, fourth and fifth fret, and everything rest, everything that's left will just gonna stay the same, and it's gonna sound like that. So we have chromatic movement, and then scale without repeating the last note. So now we have note G on 1 on the first beat of the bar. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, let's have a look. How would it sound if instead of this first gap on E string would feel the second gap on A string? And suddenly we have another more interesting sound with different color. This missing note that we put here is sharp 11. It's quite a good color note. Okay, another thing, let's try to feel, to see how filling another gap on the last series of notes on D string. So it's second, third, fourth, and fifth fret. So sounds way better than just boring major scale. And now we can mix them up. So say for example, going up the scale, we'll put the chromatic note in between the first two steps. But going down, we'll play the chromatics on the A string. So it's gonna sound like that. Now let's have a look what would happen if we move this chromatic note onto middle string and then playing the descending scale, we would put the chromatic notes on the D string. So it's going to sound like this. So there's a way of basically mixing and matching whatever sounds you like, and it just makes it a little bit more interesting, and most importantly, it keeps the picking or fingering pattern consistent. So I can stick to my either alternating picking pattern, or in this case I'm using my thumb and my index. This exercise is quite important because it's also one way of linking the notes of the chord in the major scale. So for example, this is arpeggio of G major, which is the root chord, G, B, and D. And depending on the phrasing and on the rhythm that we want to achieve, we can see very clear relationship between these notes and a little chromatic approach in between those. Very useful in improvisation in many styles, which I'll possibly touch on in a nearest future. But anyway, very good thing as a warm-up, good exercise to keep consistent picking. And also good thing to get this grasp of light touch and economy in movements, because we're in a single position, we don't shift around. And also in relation to my middle finger, every note is in a fixed distance, so I don't shift positions of my hand. I can easily tell where every note is in relation to my initial position, which is note G on 3rd fret on E string. So, yep. Hope you liked it.